So most of you have heard of serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, and John Wayne Gacy. And you probably believe that they were true monsters. Well, I'm going to introduce you to a serial killer that you may have not have heard of. The grandfather of gore, the butcher of Plainfield, or the Plainfield Ghoul. These are all nicknames given to Edward Theodore Gein, Ed Gein, a serial killer who inspired several horror movies like Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs, including their main characters. For Psycho, it was Norman Bates. For Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was Leatherface. And for the Silence of the Lambs, it was Buffalo Bill. Ed was born in 1906 to an alcoholic father and an overbearing, highly religious mother who was extremely, very verbally abusive towards Ed and his older brother, Henry. Ed had a very unhealthy devotion to his mother. As well, he idolized her, even though she was cruel and verbally abused him on a regular basis. His brother Henry, however, would regularly stand up to his mother. And some say that Ed didn't like that. In 1944, Henry would die in a fire, claimed to be an accident. But some suspected that Ed had something to do with it. Ed was always known as shy, a reclusive, even as a child. He would maintain that hermit lifestyle even through adulthood. After his father would die, Ed would take care of his mother, devoting all of his time. He didn't date. He didn't do anything outside of the house. But in 1946, when Augusta, his mother, passed away, something in Ed snapped. He would keep the areas that his mother had lived in clean and kind of a shrine to his mother. But like I said, after his mama had passed away, something inside snapped. When you hear grave robbing, you probably think of digging someone up and removing their personal items like rings and necklaces and such. But Ed Gein would put a whole new spin on grave robbery, keeping up with local obituaries. The night of the funerals, after the deceased had been buried, Ed Gein would sneak into the cemetery and dig them up, removing the corpses from their caskets and carrying them to his home. Now, this content that I'm about to share with you may be very disturbing to some viewers. So after removing the corpses from their graves and taking them home, Ed would decapitate the corpses, skin them, and yes, molest and have sex with the corpses. He would use their skin to make lamps, chairs, and other furniture. He would use the bones, the skulls, to make bowls. He would decorate his house in their skulls, as well as their skin. And it didn't stop there. He would make masks, belts made of nipples, and corsets made of human nipples. He would also make a skin suit and wear it around his house. No one had a clue of the monstrosities this hermit, Ed Gein, was up to. Until 1956, Bernice Warden owned the Plainfield hardware store. She disappeared. Her son, who was in law enforcement, suspected Ed Gein, and they would track them down at a neighbor's house. And when they would open up Ed Gein's house, they were blown away by what was inside. Not only that, they tracked down to a shed. They found Bernice Warden. She was decapitated, hanging upside down from the ceiling, and he was in the process of skinning her. Among the bones found in Ed Gein's house were those of Mary Hogan, who had disappeared several months earlier. She worked in the local tavern, which, despite Ed being a hermit, he would regular this tavern. Ed would confess. 2 murders confirmed: Bernice and Mary. 7 suspected, and 9 corpses. In 1958, the lawyer for Ed Gein would plead insanity, and Ed would spend the rest of the remaining days in mental hospitals until the day he died in 1984 at the age of 77 from cancer.